Okay, let's try this again.
Roll it back now.
Hierarchy has all the items in your thingy. Project is all of your files and folders. Um, so here's the thing. Unity will have all of your any of your assets are stored on your computer, but if you but like just because you have them doesn't necessarily mean they're in your current project, and it's more efficient that way because then it doesn't have to load those. Um, inspector is how it change everything. Mesh render is how it looks. Collider is how the game determines whether an object is touching something or not. Is trigger essentially takes a collider. Normally the collider stops you. When you set it is trigger, you can pass through the collider, and it's just used for detecting information. Like if I want to have a door that opens when the player gets next to it, I create a collider on both sides of the doors and say that it's a trigger. And when you enter that trigger, I tell the game is being told to open the door. So that's how you do that.
Okay.
Then we have add components allows you to pretty much add any feature to an object that you want. So let's say a rigid body, for instance. Rigid body tells the Unity that I want this object to interact with physics. There's the option to turn off gravity, how heavy the object is, how much it slows down, collision detection, then constraints. That's a very useful tool, especially for cameras, where I can say I do not want you to go up and down on the y-axis, so it'll always stay on that plane. So if you want a camera that's always moving forward but pan down to look at the player, you just lock its y-axis so it can't go up and down. So it can only go like, you know, left, right, forward, and back.
Okay.
So this is your game window right now. So main camera is right here, and so this is our game window. This is what the player would actually see. So if I move this around, and then there's something called parenting an object to something. So I move these around right now, and they're completely independent. But if I were to take the camera and move it to the cube, now when I move the cube, the camera's tracking. See what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
So now there's a lot of really quick shit to do. Search online. So this is the Unity Asset Store. There you can make an incredible game purely with free stuff. There's an assload of free stuff on here. This controller. The FPS controller. Let me sort this by free. Full body FPS controller. Downloading this allows you to just you just throw down something for a player to walk on. Then it's literally an asset you drag from your assets folder onto the onto your scene, and boom! As soon as you click play, you can actually screw around with. You have a fully movable character that can that tracks the mouse, uses WASD, can jump, and everything. So there's a lot of like shortcuts that it has. Let's see. Let's go ahead and jump over here to making a 3D model real fast. I'm gonna show you how fucking like super basic this is. So if I want to make an object, I'm gonna make this long. Put a freaking cube in this bitch. I'm not trying to make this like cool at all. I'm just so completely free site. They have a premium version where it has a lot more features. That's why it's free. So if I make something like this, go away.
What would some of the, I guess, premium features be? Like lighting or other shapes?
Yeah, more sophisticated shapes, more intuitive control, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So laser cutting is an SVG file. If you're using a 3D printer, you want STL. STL is just the 3D object itself. OBJ is a 3D object and what colors you use. We'll go ahead and toss that there. Waiting for it to finish doing what it's going to. There we go. This is also one of my favorite things about Unity. Unfortunately, it is a resource hog. There's just no way around it. When you create a file, for some fucking reason, it just gives it some random ass name. Go ahead. Copy. Oh, good God. I need to clean some of this crap up.
I bet organization takes a really big part in keeping things straight.
Yeah. Strike here. So OBJ, I actually don't quite know how to use the MTL object, but so Tinker OBJ. We're gonna let's see, is it window? I'm sorry, I haven't messed around with this in such a long ass time.
You're good. It looks like a lot to memorize and also a lot to forget.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, assets. Whoops. New folder. Oh, I have to. I need to scale you.
Oh no.
Okay, it's that simple.
Okay.
So that's how quick I went from making a 3D object tossing into my game.
And then, so this was saved as STL because it doesn't have the colors. If you had saved as OB, oh, it is OBJ. So wait, STL is just the object with no colors, but OBJ is the object with colors, or is it the opposite?
OBJ comes with a an extra file for coloring. I don't quite remember how to use it.
Oh, okay. So they both save a blank copy, but OBJ comes with an extra file that you can somehow apply, and then it colors it.
Yeah, I'm not a super pro on file types, but yeah.
Okay.
That was always, oh, that's right, yeah, FSMs. So one of the small drawbacks of Unity, there might be an asset you can download. The reason they're called assets, not objects, is an asset can be a physical object, it could be a script, it can be lighting settings, it can be data, it can be anything. So an object is not specific enough or a little too exclusive for everything you can have in here.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and say that rigid body, but don't use gravity. Yeah, Tinker, Group A. Also, this is the other thing that's cool. When you import the object, it does import every individual object as well. But you see how it didn't save the settings here. So that's a small problem with it. Something to keep in mind when you combine a bunch of objects. But I mean, you can easily see how instead of making this, I could have made a small little crappy ass gun and toss it in.
Yeah.
Show you how much detail I can.
So this is Tinkercad, the place where you can very quickly and easily make just objects.
Yeah, it's like Paint as far as simplicity goes, but just with 3D. It's better than 3D Paint. Holy shit. It uses shadows and lines to show you where an object is in the world. This is a basic little futurized gun I was working on. So what is? Oh, I didn't import those crap. I'm sorry. I should have probably set all this up beforehand. But so yeah, this is when you make an object. Let me show you something real quick. If I make this a whole, what this allows me to do is cut objects out. So if I do this, and the moment I group them, it does that. It essentially deletes everything the whole is touching.
Okay.
Which allows me to do stuff like that.
Huh.
Then yeah, so let's go ahead, Inspector. FSM, I have not messed around with Playmaker in a long time, so here we go. This is where things will kind of get complicated. Okay, so imagine a state is a list of instructions of what we're doing right now. Each state is made up of a bunch of actions. Move object, and I got to tell it. Here's what I like about it. I can just grab the object from my scene, plop it right there. So say I want to move this one. speed can I can make it a variable, or I can just I can either like grab it from a variable that I want to say like as I upgrade my my speed variable, I want you to use my variable called speed, or I can literally just give it a flat number. 5, I guess. Sure. It's normally supposed to give me action browser. Huh. Alright, let's see if this works. Okay, so I want to enter play mode, and this should move somewhere. Give it a minute. Unity eats the living shit out of your computer's resources, so do not have something else running while you're...
Okay, okay, good to know.
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, I guess, damn it. So it went up. You can, the FSM, I'm blanking. It's called something specific. There's a lot of very specific actions for different things, and one of them lets you determine what axis this goes up and down on. So yeah, right now when you click on it, it's not going to show you your actions right here. It shows you your actions over here. So move object at 5. It's going to keep doing that until I tell it otherwise, and then I can do something. Add transition finished, and basically a transition is how you get from two different states. So let's say what's that called? Get mouse button down. There we go. Yeah. So basically what this is saying is that I am waiting to see if the player presses presses down the left mouse button. If it does, I might go to this state and say, okay, I want you to spawn a bullet in front of my gun right here. And then essentially when that bullet spawns, I have another FSM on that bullet that tells it, hey, go forward at this speed.
Oh, so that's how they make bullets.
Yeah. And then it gets a little bit more complicated than that. It depends on how simple you want to make your game. Let's just say I just want a gun, I just want to shoot things. I can say, hey, so first off, I hit an object, and I'm going to do compare tag. So I can ask, so the game can ask itself, oh god, did they change its name? Wait, or is it object compare? They changed its name somewhere. So the first thing the object does is you do compare tag. So if I say, hey, if you hit an enemy, I want you to compare its tag. If I've tagged this thing as an enemy, then I want you to do damage to it. At that point, there are two different ways you can accomplish that. What was your question real quick?
What's the difference between a state and a script? Or are they the same? Like something that's scripted?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Playmaker, this is what I'm working on right now is an FSM. It's essentially like this little like pseudo script. But when it's plugged into the game, Playmaker manages all the scripting for you, every little bit of it, and actually does write a C# script for you. It puts onto that object, but you never actually have to mess around with the actual code itself.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I literally can't. If someone's like, I don't know how to do this, you can do it in Playmaker, and then copy and send the script to them. And as far as anyone knows, you're an expert at writing C#. Or if you want to know how to do something in C#, do it in Playmaker first, and then like look over the code.
Okay, okay. So then a script would be, it's one of the small pieces that goes into making a state work.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So a state is a, okay.
Yeah, Playmaker, from my perspective, is a better way of understanding what you are doing with code. It's a simple, what are we doing right now, and a series of if-then scenarios. So, for instance, get mouse button down could be an if-then scenario. The down part is that, let's say we have, whoops, not that one. Spawn, whoops. Okay, I guess, is it create object? Okay, they changed it to create object, gotcha. So let's say we move past this get mouse button down, where we're creating an object. If I press left mouse button down, we're going to go from this state to this state, which means that if something else happens in the state that I want to know about, it's too late, we're on a different state. Now I can put as many FSMs on a single object as I want, which is great. So I have a transition. Finish means when I go through all these actions, go to the next state. So if I say left click, get mouse button down, which means if this game receives a left click from the player, it's going to go to this next state, which is spawn a bullet here. The problem is, now we're stuck here. So it could, just create object, and then we go finished, and we can loop it back to here, where it waits for where it waits to see if the mouse button gets down again. Do automatic, we have it set to a loop where it constantly spawns a bullet, waits, spawns a bullet, waits. Because if you don't have a wait thing in there, it'll just spawn objects literally as fast as it can, which will crash the game.
Okay. So you want kind of like cooldown or like delays between things. So
So it'd be your fire rate. And the thing is, check this out real quick. Wait. But then I'm going to create a variable called fire rates. Variable type float. And so basically I can come back here, go, there we go. So time, I can either give it like in seconds, or I can go here and select a variable. So if I put in a thing that says, hey, you've gotten gold and you upgrade your fire rate, this will essentially, your wait time will change due to your fire rate.
Okay.
So that's how you'd implement that. However, this would need to constantly... the problem is this variable only exists for this FSM unless you call it a global, unless you make it a global variable, in which case it can be accessed anywhere. That does also get a little bit more complicated, but it kind of gave you a general idea of how you do that. Then we have main camera. I'm going to bring you back up here. Game. Where are you? There you are. Okay. Let's say UI text. New text here. I don't know why it does this. You can shrink it down. You're supposed to be able to use Text Mesh Pro, but it just does not work. Or at least for me anyway. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. I am certainly not a pro at this at all. You're supposed to come back. Alright, well. Can we just go to Control Z? Can we do that? Okay, so normally this is supposed to be really small. Canvas. Actually, maybe it's the... Nope, it's... I'll figure it out later. I'm tired.
okay.
But essentially, remember how I said if you parent an object to an object, it'll follow around when you move that object around?
Yeah.
So imagine the cube is our player, our main camera is here, and the UI stuff is paired to the camera, which means that when the camera moves around, the text will come with it. So that's how you have a user interface that shows your health and your ammo and everything.
Okay.
Basically, you create an FSM on this that it's a little complicated. I wanted to load up my old project, but I had some problems with it, and I didn't want to sit there and troubleshoot. But yeah, basically you have to have it when you display a number, it just displays it. If you want it to constantly update, you have to figure out how to tell that thing to constantly update the new thing, where it's almost like when a number gets changed, it sends a message to the text, hey, hey, make sure you update. Otherwise, it doesn't know that it needs to constantly change that number. So
what would be an example of that?
Let's say you're what's the word? Let's say every time I shoot, let me go here. Let's say every time I shoot, I subtract 1 from my actually, yeah, let's float subtract -1. Oh, actually I actually don't need to do -1 because it's automatically so imagine this. We spawn an object, we subtract 1 from our magazine size, and then we wait and we go back here to see if the button's been pressed again. And then I have it, it does all this crap. Then I can do float compare. Float 1 is magazine size. Float 2 is, do you know what a float is?
No.
It is a number that is not a decimal place. Or maybe that's an integer.
Oh, okay. So just like a whole number.
Yeah. So
Okay.
float being so these are essentially like two numbers. Math changes when you get decimals involved. That's why it's important, and it also determines how much data is used and how it's used. It's a computer thing. That's why the distinction is important. I would not
Okay.
recommend using you know come on brain. Yeah, use floats if you can. So basically, this is float compare, and it says, okay, so float 1, I'm going to compare magazine size to if it's equal to this, and tolerance is, any kind of forgiveness. If it's and if magazine size is equal to 0, then we're going to go do something else. Otherwise, it gets ignored. I can go ahead and say new event. I'll figure something out. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So new event. So you reload. State 1. So I guess we can tell, okay, if they are equal to each other, or it's less than or greater than, then we're going to go ahead and let's greater than equal less than. Oh, add transition reload. Okay, cool. So then, yeah, for equal to, we're going to use transition reload and go to here. And for this one, I could say, display text reload. I actually have to set the user interface in order to be able to do that, which I don't quite want to do right now. But essentially, this state, reload, if this is not equal to 0, I can have it go back here and wait again. If it is equal to 0, then I go back to this state where it says reload, and then this state has a transition where it leads back to this one as well. So to kind of give you a general idea of how like a gun would work. Then if I wanted to go a little bit further, I could say that, okay, it creates an object here, and then I want you to enable a muzzle flash real quick, and then make the gun jerk upwards by like, 0.1 degrees. And then we do all the rest to kind of simulate shooting a bullet, as well as, play a sound.
Okay.
So that's a bit about how you have a gun work.
Do you add sounds in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna have them in the game, and then put them in here. So I just, once again, I had a huge ass project that would have shown everything I wanted, but it just refused to load it. And I'm just too tired to troubleshoot that right now.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, so basically the order of operations is, it spawns an object, subtracts 1 from a magazine size, waits the amount of time that's my fire rate, might do a muzzle flash and everything. If it doesn't need to reload, it goes back here and waits to see if we still have that button down or not. So there are 2 modes. There are, have I pressed a button, and have I held the button. Mouse, whoops. So get mouse button just says if it's down or not. Oh. Did they change it again? Fuck, I think they changed it. But yeah, this just kind of give you a preview of what you're looking for. Playmaker, last I checked, is $65. Best investment I've ever made. I tried figuring out coding and everything, and at that time, I couldn't really find a tutorial that worked for me. So Playmaker ended up being just freaking awesome. Playmaker can get complicated. That's kind of nature of things things that have been done, or just how the game works. I mean, you already see what this is right now, but you can kind of quickly see how it kind of be how things can kind of get tedious. Accuracy, like how your bullets spray out a little bit, that can actually get really complicated.
And I imagine that's also going to be tied to whether you're holding the button for firing or tapping.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, okay. That's really cool. So I noticed that Unity has just like Playmaker in there. Is Playmaker a part of Unity, or is it something hosted by a different company that's supported by Unity?
The second one. Basically, go to the asset store. I'm logged in, so it knows what I have here, and it'll pull up my account and let me download my assets and everything.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, Playmaker has, or not Playmaker, sorry, the Unity Asset Store. Please tell me you have all of my stuff. That'd be so cool. Saved assets. Here we go. So yeah, this is all the stuff. I mean, you can download like full-on spaceships and everything. I had to pay $10 for this model. Hurry up and play it. So this one is fully animated and everything.
Wow.
So that's a little more advanced. Unity, I have not screwed around with it, but you can make animations in Unity. It's pretty straightforward and simple. I just never got around to doing it. God, there was one more thing. Oh, so some of the drawbacks of Unity, if you have a script in your game, it doesn't matter if you're not using it. If it is in your assets and it does not work, Unity will not let you playtest the game until you make it workable.
Wow.
Even if it does nothing, if there's a compiling error, it will not let you playtest your game. Number two, while you're playtesting your game, I can edit variables all I want. I can edit FSMs in real time. When I stop playtesting, all of my work goes, everything I did gets reset back to this, like whatever I did before playtesting it. So for the love of God, do not get caught up editing your game while in play mode. Like, it's fun to test stuff out, but like, don't get caught up like editing this, that, and the other thing in play mode. Once you exit it, all of your changes go away.
Okay. So in play mode, all changes revert back to before you went into play mode?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's it called?
And the $65 for Playmaker, you said that's one time, right?
Yeah. They also have a really big forum full of pros. I'll gladly help you out. The problem with the Playmaker forums is that a lot of them, a lot of the pros just want to answer basic noob questions because your more advanced questions have to ask you a bunch of questions. And I quickly hit the point where they stopped replying to my questions because it would just take so much effort for them to understand what the problem is. So I quickly kind of got out onto the pier and was kind of like by myself in the water of Playmaker. If you also want, I have, I can give you my notes on Playmaker. I found, it's 6 hours worth of tutorials on Playmaker, or actually, I'm sorry, 3 hours worth of tutorials for Playmaker that tell you how to make your first FPS. Very informative, but I put them all into notes. So where, 3 hours of videos gets condensed into like a 15-minute read. So if you want, I can give those to you.
Heck yeah, I'd love it.
Playmaker. Yeah, it should be. So that's Playmaker. Unfortunately, I also have notes on Unity. There's a lot. It is an accumulation over many years. And the Unity gets updated a lot. So
Some might be like outdated or something.
yeah, they might have changed something around where something is. I'll find it later. I just didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night. Yeah, so there's so the difference, so there's Unreal Engine and there's Unity. Unreal Engine is meant for games that look nice. It's meant to just hit the ground running with good graphics, good movement and everything. Unity is like anything else. You can make a basic bitch like 2D side scroller if you really want to. You can even make an app for your phone. I mean, basically, Unity allows you to make games for a PlayStation, Xbox, your phone, VR, pretty much anything. It just comes with it. So if you make an app for your phone where you know the game registers, you're pressing on the screen, same with the rest of a mouse click, you can make an app for your phone.
Dang. Okay.
Um, yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, when you go to your assets, you literally just drag shit onto the screen. Then there's, you can mess with the lighting. Unity doesn't care what you're doing. It'll let you do anything. How is the light settings? They're around here somewhere. Lighting, there we go. Light map settings. That's not it. Environment. Oh, here we go. No, that's not it. Where is the setting for freaking... It's supposed to be right here. Did they move it again? I hate it when they do that. That's the problem with like not touching this and come back, is sometimes they move stuff around.
Yeah, especially with how many things there are. So it looks like Playmaker also makes lighting pretty easy too, because I feel like in older game design, you couldn't just have like a live light source. You had to like code shadows and stuff.
Yeah, you can add a light on anything. I can take a bullet, make it. So here's another cool thing you can do: create empty. It's a game object, but there's no data onto it. It's completely blank. You can use it as just like a place to like. I can have this be the spawn point for my bullet. I can have it be like a trigger on the floor where I walk through this area. It activates something. You can create just a blank object with no looks at it all, and it would just be just data, for instance. So I can have this, name it bullet, put a light onto it, and that way when I shoot it, it's just like a beam of light that goes through the air to create like a nice laser effect.
Okay. What was that called again?
It's just an empty game object.
Create empty. Okay.
Come on, brain. There was one more thing I wanted to show you. I just had effects, particle systems. Okay, this is how you create these little particle effects. This does not look like much, but in the inspector, you can edit the fuck out of what this is. Emission. Let's do that. Start speed. Let's do 50. Make them red. So you could have this. I could have a minigun. So there's when it comes to shooting, there are two different methods. One is ray casting, which is when I press left click, it shoots out an invisible line that the player can't see, or you can add in a line effect if you really want to. And the ray cast says, "Hey, I've hit something. What do you want me to do?" And what it does is determined by the FSM you put onto it. Like, do I do damage? Do I change its color? What do you want me to do here?
Okay.
Or you can shoot an actual physical projectile like I showed you. Then when it comes to an FPS, FPS are more complicated in how they look. If I literally spawn the bullet in front of my gun where I'm trying to go, your accuracy will be off because I'm looking 2 feet above my gun. But what I can do, and Halo does this as well as Call of Duty. So what Halo and Call of Duty do is when I shoot, the gun goes up, as does your actual as does your camera, and you see the muzzle flash, but it's actually spawning the bullet right where your crosshairs are. And it uses ray casting because in Call of Duty the maps aren't big enough to need to bother with bullet drop, and that also helps with not having less data. Because the game doesn't have to keep track of billions of bullets going everywhere like Battlefield does. It's just hey I've shot an invisible laser. It's hit a player. So now, so when the invisible laser hits you, it sends your damage to the player and says, okay, subtract that damage from your health. You can pretty much assume the rest. So it's all about, like, do you really need a physical projectile? That'll cut down a lot on data, but I mean, it can add a lot to your game if your physical projectile is what you need to worry about.
Okay. So that's why the bullets looked like they were coming straight out of the person in Halo. I was always wondering about that.
Yeah, there's all these different ways of doing it. Then there's something called now if you want to get advanced into shooters, there's something called pool casting. So here's the thing: when I shoot, it creates an object, kind of like this, and then when the object reaches the end of its lifetime or hits an object, it deletes itself. So I'm constantly creating and deleting objects over and over and over again with a lot of data onto them, which can add a lot to your game. Or you can do something called pool casting, which is, imagine I have 100 invisible objects on me at all times that act as my bullets. When I shoot, it goes forward and hits an object. Instead of deleting itself, it makes itself invisible, teleports itself back behind me, and waits in line to be shot again. So the game doesn't have to create any new data, it's just moving objects, which requires a lot less resources, but is a little bit more complicated to set up.
Making some notes.
Those are all in my Playmaker notes.
Okay.
If it helps at all. So yeah, this I have no problems with this program with Tinkercad at all. If I want to, I can get back here to my creations. Hopefully, it won't take 30 years. If I want to, I can go to any of these creations, copy and paste it, and plop it into a different object. So what I like to do is I like to create a bunch of different gun parts and then assemble them into a new weapon.
Okay.
Yeah, then there's the Unity Asset Store. Let's gun. Nothing. Yeah, free assets 171 called gun. So gun packs, low poly. Low poly means as few shapes as humanly possible, and it's usually considered the lower graphical side. If you look at all these are all low poly, but these are all free. So I can plop these into my game and have a nice working gun model, just boom.
Oh, okay.
Okay, looks like these do not come with muzzle flashes, or animations or whatever, so it's just a physical thing. But I mean, a muzzle flash can be, free. Alright, here we go, yeah, muzzle flash right here. So basically how you normally have a muzzle flash in the game is you flash this object for a split second. It doesn't matter that this is technically two-dimensional. You'll spawn it and then get rid of it, or at least you make it invisible where you can't see it, and then turn it slightly. So if I'm shooting, you're constantly seeing that muzzle flash go pop, 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 and rotating in place. So even though it's technically a 2D object, it doesn't matter. But I mean, if I really wanted to, I could take these 2D objects and stack them on each other, one going vertical, one going horizontal, and just constantly have that and have it just randomly like rotate in place every time I shoot. And then you're good to go.
Okay. Because you can take two 2D objects and do that, like line one up on X and the other on like Y, and then you kind of split them right down the middle, and it gives the impression of like a solid object,
Yeah,
or a
pretty
solid
much.
shape. Because in Halo 3, you know the Spartan laser?
Yeah.
They did it in that same way. I was so surprised I like went in theater mode and saw that it was just two flat images set up in a cross.
Yeah, that's there's a big difference between what the developer sees and what the player sees. There's so much going on behind the screens that you just do not know about.
Yeah. And then when you were talking about the 2D image, are those called billboards? Like images that kind of rotate with you, depending on where you view it from?
I think so. I could be wrong. That's the cool part with 2D objects. I can have I can set up an FSM to have it always facing you, like the enemy's health always facing you, and it's technically always in front of your face, like it is layered to be on top of all the other objects. So if I want you to be able to see your objective, I can just have the word, OBJ with an arrow pointing down to my objective, and it's always facing you, and it's always in front of everything.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty much all there really was to show real quick. I didn't want this to be like a super long tutorial. Now a lot of this. There's also a snap grid feature on here, which is exactly what you think it is. Pro Builder allows you to kind of build like you would in Minecraft if you really want to, where you can just build structures really quick, as well as kind of like morph them. So I imagine like Minecraft building, but with a little bit of sculpting to it if you really want to.
Okay.
I especially love snap grid when you're making a city because you can put walls right next to each other without there being like a bit of an overlap. Yeah, particle system. I have not messed with this in ages. So this is really good for like tracer effects. You can also get a 2D image and toss into here. There's actually, yeah, that's another good thing to show real quick. I have it on here. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing it right this second. Oh, free assets. So, you see how much free stuff there is?
There's a lot of free stuff.
Yeah, there's an absolute assload. And this is like... Oh, maybe it was actually this one. Oh, okay. So, yeah, check this out. So, it does a lot of these animations for you. When I toss this animation in there, it just rotates through these images really quick to make it look like something happened. So when you have a fire, basically it's a 2D image that looks like a fire. It's completely static, but the particle thing will emit these and keep it in place, so it'll look like a dancing flame. It'll look really realistic, but in reality it's just a bunch of 2D images that's just cycling through really fast. Or it's taking the same 2D image and rotating it in place a little bit and moving it around, and that's all it's doing. But it looks like a legit flame. And then, so if I want to have a fire in here, I have fire. Then I can create a second particle system under this particle system that I could make be smoke instead. And so if I want to, yes, I could have, two different particle systems. One's the fire, one's the smoke, have it all be together. So, I mean... And I can also have the particles. The particles can either be specific to that object, where the particles move with that object, or B, I can have them move with the environment. So let's say I have a particle system that's shooting out snowballs. If I tell the snowballs to interact with the environment, when I move the object around that's shooting the snowballs will stay where they are in the world. Or if I turn that off, the snowballs will act like they're not, they're ignoring the world at all and stay where they are as they're moving around, as if like they're in their own little like physics-free system essentially.
Huh.
So that's all the different things you can do. There's not really a limit to what Unity can accomplish. However, lighting and graphics get complicated really freaking quick. There's a lot of complex terminology and math involved and stuff, and the more you learn about lighting, the more you start to see these little errors and shit like that in the game. You can already see that Unity is doing the shadowing for me, depending on where my my light source is. Oh, actually, yeah, so that's just our scene light. So let me, point lights. Oh, because it's over there. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, see, it does all the lighting for you.
Okay.
And then we have, please tell me I have textures already in here. No. Okay, open package manager. Import. I know it looks like a lot, but I don't use 90% of what's on the screen.
Okay.
Materials.
Kind of like a Google Drive doc. There's a ton of little buttons, but you probably only use like 10% at a time.
Okay, so check this out. This is a basic ass object. I have materials. A material is slightly different from a texture. A texture is how it looks. A material can be how it looks, but it can also be how physics affects something. I can make something bouncy. I can make something slippery. A material can be a lot of different things. So if I toss this onto, I said if I toss this onto, okay, fine. We'll go back to my freaking cube. So we'll go back to my cube. There it is. It's basic cube. Then I can toss this on, and all of a sudden it's snowy. And if I wanted to, and I'll have a snowy ground.
Ah.
So you can take like a basic bitch cube, and with the right texture, poof, suddenly you have a really cool landscape. There's also, I don't know where they are off the top of my head because I haven't messed around with this a lot, and they've been moving shit around since the last time I used Unity. They have a landscaping tool built into it where I can like raise certain sections, lower other sections, quickly like paint a terrain. It's really, really handy and really, really cool.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that was separate from Unity that Unity just said fuck it and bought out the creator of it, which those people are swimming in cash right now, and just made it integrated into Unity. Yeah, that's pretty much all there really is to show. You can go mild to wild. There's an ass load of things you can do with it. Or if you just want to make a basic game where you just wander around and do shit. I know Melody wanted to make a video game based off of her book. And a lot of it's going to be wandering around talking to people and then kind of like solving runaround puzzles. The most basic game you can make for practice is a simple 3D game where you run around trying to avoid objects. And all you have to do is just say, when I touch this object, compare tag, and if I say, okay, so it's equal to cube or whatever I have, I can tag this as whatever I want. I come up with my own tag. You can literally just make it whatever the hell you want. But if I say, okay, I've hit an object, I'll display the text "you're dead" and then teleport me back to start. I can reload the whole game if I want to. I can just tell you teleport to the nearest checkpoint. I can create a variable. I can create a variable that's a location called nearest checkpoint. And whenever I cross over a checkpoint, I tell it to overwrite the variable called nearest checkpoint with whatever the location is of that current checkpoint. That's how you have a checkpoint system in a game. So that's a lot of what a lot of people do when they first mess around with Unity is doing a game like that where you're just trying to avoid objects.
Okay.
And you can go mild to wild with that crap as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much all there really is to show. Did you have any questions or?
So how would you integrate like a game menu with, like begin game where it then loads you into the game and then like some system to kick you back out to the menu?
So, scenes are not projects. The project is, the game as a whole. Scene is just where we are in the game world. So you essentially create a scene that's going to be your menu. That's going to be the first scene the game loads. And then you have a user interface where you click on, start, settings, quit, whatever the fuck.
Uh-huh.
And what's cool is, your scene can be a whole level if you want to. It can just be a user interface. It's just going to look like this, and instead you just have a user interface instead, and the camera doesn't move. That's all there would be to it. Where it says, go ahead.
Oh no, I didn't realize you're going to keep going. Go ahead.
But yeah, this is new text could be play, and then when the game detects, so user interface comes with its own thing of, so a button. Button already comes with programming options for what happens when it's clicked. Oh yeah, navigation on click. You can create it can run. You can set up an FSM that runs when you click on it, and one of the FSM actions is to load a different scene.
Okay.
So if I change this to if I change the button text to play, and when I say click on it, it runs an FSM. The FSM says, okay, I want you to load the other scene, and then it brings you here where you run around the surface of the moon. That's how you start your game.
So then, how would you have different environments? So like sticking with the space idea, let's say you also have like Venus as well. If you have some kind of teleport object or button that you click on, what would that look like in the game for
Um,
the Venus landscape?
yeah, it would just be a new scene, and then you just make it look like Venus.
Okay. Okay.
That's all there is to
So
it.
then, could you explain a little bit more then, like the differences between scene and project then again?
Project is everything from my one game. Projects don't talk to each other. Scenes do.
Gotcha. Okay, so multiple scenes go in the single project.
Yeah, I can have variables go from one scene to the other. If I have a global variable, it exists across all scenes. Or if it's just a local variable, it's just in that specific FSM. FSMs can also send each other data if I want them to.
Okay. How would you make AI?
Oh Jesus. Get one of these. um, your free AI is going to be really fucking basic.
Uh-huh.
I use one for my enemies. Basically, when you have the AI, the first thing you need is set up navigation. So you click on when you have it installed, you click on this and click on static, and that tells the AI that you can walk. You're allowed to walk on this object. Um, and then anything that's not static, the object, your enemy will ignore it. And then you have to tell the enemy what to do. Do you just wander around randomly, or you can have you can set up either a collider or a physical object that's invisible that says if the enemy if my if the enemy player enters this thing, I've detected it, and I'm going to tell myself to look at it and then try and navigate my way to the player. Um, or I can just have a like let's just say I have a helicopter that flies over, and if I see you, I have my gun point at you and start shooting bullets at you.
Okay.
So it's just a bunch of stuff like that. You can give it a timer. You can create like two different FSMs. The cool part about FSMs as well. Let me edit it real quick. Um, Events. So creating a global at global transition. There we go. So a global transition is saying that if I want to start here real quick, so start means as soon as this FSM runs, we're going to do this. A global event says if I send it, yeah, that's right. Send event. So basically, my action, if I bump to you, I send an event called. If I send a global event to you called reload, it'll go to your the FSM of my choice and start here instead. So one thing I'll have to do is at start it sets your health to 100, and then when you take damage, so basically the bullet hits you and it sends the event take damage. So instead this would be called take damage, and from here we would subtract damage variable from your health variable, make it like a grunting sound, and then go back to here where it's constantly keeping track of your health. And then when it reaches 0, we go to a different thing. So that's how you get events to send data to each other. I think it's also get info, or did they change it again? Oh, get event info, get FSM float. You can essentially, so how I have my game set up is that my player has a variable on it called damage. This variable goes up and down depending on what you spend your gold on. When you kill an enemy, you get gold, and then you upgrade your damage. When I spawn a bullet, the gun goes, okay, I've spawned this bullet, and I'm going to take the damage variable from the player and copy that data and put onto the bullet. The bullet then goes forward. When it hits an enemy, it does the same thing where it goes, okay, hey enemy, I've done damage to you, so I want you to start here where your health is. You're going to subtract my damage variable from your health. And that's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to delete myself. I might even spawn a bullet effect before I delete myself, whatever. And and so that'd be a useful way of like transferring data. But once again, that's more that the game has to do. So if you can get away with using raycast, I'd really recommend it. But that's a way of having events send data back and forth.
Okay.
I'm sorry, am I like going on like a ramble or?
No, no, you're good. I'm surprised by how much more in depth it is and how some other things are a little bit simpler than I thought it would be to make.
Yeah,
Like I was
some.
thinking that yeah, yeah, no, I was thinking like it would take like a lot of, coding to get around some of the other stuff, but there's a huge wealth of like objects and lighting and, particles and like colliders that you can do without really having to touch code at all.
Yeah, you don't have to mess. If you have Playmaker, you don't have to touch code ever. Um, but as far as scripts go, you go to cube, or go to your object, add component. You go to create new script. Yeah, call it that. I don't care. So here's your script. Script is right here. You then import your script. You can drag it straight from your desktop to here, or you can import into your packages and let you just drag it through right here, and then boom, the script is on there. From what I understand, the script to make an explosion is actually really complicated, like data-wise, because it essentially tells your the objects that get exploded, hey, I'm hitting you from this angle, and I want you to go backwards the opposite direction that I'm hitting you from. So it's easy just to download the script that does explosions. You can find any kind of script online. However, the limitations on your script, Unity will not allow you to use commands that actually affect Unity itself, just what's happening in the game. Actually, that's not 100% true. There are scripts that actually mess with the Unity layout itself, but you can't hack the program or anything like that.
So, so to make sure I understand, so they won't allow a script that'll like change the layout or the buttons or the actions that all these like tools do?
Um, I I think it actually will allow you to do some of that. That's some super advanced shit. I don't know anything about it, but I do know there are scripts you can download that make it to where it does save your progress when you're in the playtest mode. So if you want to spawn a bunch of buildings really easily, you get one of those scripts, go into play mode, use your admin tools to spawn in buildings, shit like that, and then it's able to save that. I've never messed around with it, but that is a thing you can do.
And that would probably not be on the Unity asset store. You'd have to get that from somewhere else.
Actually, I think it might be. It's called something else. Yeah, you might have to go find it somewhere else, but yeah, it's somewhere. Also, yeah, Unity Asset Store. There's 3D, 2D, texture materials, animations, user interface, audio, visual effects. Then there's all the different free categories. Dude, I've spent like years of my life just browsing this store, going, "Oh, that would be so cool."
Yeah, there were a couple really cool, assets here that were just free. Like especially, well, the Mac cost like $10, but the quality on that Mac,
Yeah,
that was really detailed.
yeah. Some of them, what they'll do, a lot of people will do is they'll have one free asset, and then the rest of their stuff is like $10. So let's check out some animations people made. These are all just particle effects, by the way.
Oh wow.
So this is all stuff you can do in Unity if you go mild to wild with it. Because it's what's going on right here is this is the 3D object that spawns as a particle. Then it's got a trail effect. Then there's some other extra particles that come off of those particles when they spawn. And then when they hit a wall, you can say spawn another particle system where I'm at. That's a smaller version of the main particle system, but those ones fade away and delete themselves with time. You can have them grow larger over time. You can have them rotate over time. You can have them get smaller over time. You can have them get more transparent over time, so they just fade out instead of being straight up deleted. You can do whatever you want. You can create like a snowstorm, tracer rounds for your machine gun, whatever you can think of, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Where's the spell check? This one is dope as fucking shit. So these are all just, basically where all the different objects spawn. You can choose the spawn point, how white it is. And then you just have it say, okay, I spawn a particle here. When it spawns, what does it do? So these are just, you can make all of this in Unity. If you really want to spend the time to get good with the particle system and visual effects, you can make these all yourselves.
Jeez.
So that's, yeah,
That's really good.
Yeah, it's like, for $12, you get just all of this shit. There's 17 different, like, these are just the images as well. If you want to see what you actually get, package contents, tune projectiles. Oh, so you have demo scenes. There's an entire scene where, it essentially, like, has it puts you in this arena so you can cast all the particle effects that you want. Has all the light map data. You got materials, character models. Oh yeah, prefabs. That's actually an important thing to do. So let's say I have this cube. It's got a canvas on it and all this other crap, and I want to save it. I essentially drag it here, and when I make it a prefab, I'm essentially making it like an object for my assets. I can then save that. Prefab onto my desktop and import it into other projects. So if I have a really good gun setup that I really like, how it feels and how it looks and how it performs and everything, I can save it as a prefab and then give that object to other people. Let me. So I have a cube. Once again, some more? No, there's not. Okay, so I got this. Then I'm going to save this as a prefab. Test prefab. What is going on? Whoops. Sure went. Yes, rename object. Leave me alone. Okay, cool. So now I can sit here and spawn that item all over again with the same objects. But here's the really cool part about using a prefab. How far are these? Okay. Here's the cool thing about using a prefab. Is that how we do it? Or okay, if I go into this prefab and change its textures, it'll update it for all the times I've been using this prefab in the game at once.
So if you update one of them, it updates all the other copies?
If you update the prefab, if I can update these individually by themselves, but if I update this prefab, it automatically pushes the update to all the duplicates of it in the game.
Okay. I can see that being something that saves like a ton of time, and also if you only want to adjust one thing, you might accidentally change like everything at once when you don't want to.
Yeah. In my experience, and this is something you have to find out the hard way, it is better to make one object with a lot of really cool flexibility and everything, as opposed to going, all right, cool, this object really works, using it over and over and over again, then realize, oh wait, crap, there's something I want to change about it, and then you're kind of just shit out of luck. So for my guns, I go through, I spend a lot of time being meticulous, having good comments, having everything laid out quickly, going over each and every little aspect of it. And then all I have to do when I want to make a new gun, copy and paste my really good gun and just change how it looks and how it performs, and that's it. Everything else is already taken care of.
Okay.
So it's better to spend a lot of time on one object that you can use over and over again, as opposed to just, trying to quickly get something done.
Okay, gotcha.
Any other questions?
I think that's kind of it for now. But I mean, this is a really good intro, and especially with the notes that you put in Discord, this is taking a lot of the intimidation that I thought would be in something like a game maker, especially with what I heard about Unity.
What did you hear?
Well, in general, I heard like, game design might be kind of difficult to get into and they were also kind of comparing like different game makers and like how Unity can sometimes be messy or complicated. But
Um,
from the stuff that you showed me, I mean, you can go in depth, you can make it complicated, but it seems pretty simple as long as you know where the things are.
if I make a cube that has a collider that says, "Hey, when you touch me, you get teleported back to start," I can essentially take that cube and stretch into all these different ways and everything. The collider on it, you can edit it, so it's not just a cube collider. I can pretty much say that I've shrank this down, so if you touch the cube over here, it's just a graphic that you pass through and nothing happens. Um, I can put multiple colliders on a box, so I can give a if I have like a box enemy that has like a head, I can pretty much say that for enemies, sometimes you need something. Actually, for anything, sometimes you need something called a manager that manages manages multiple objects on a singular object. If I have, give an example here. Create 3D object sphere.
Hitboxes.
Yeah. Do you understand the concept? The problem is, I have two different objects here. So what I would then want to do, create empty object, put these here. This empty object essentially is the enemy itself, and how the enemy gets hit is determined by these colliders. And so then on this manager, I have them saying, hey, when I get hit from a bullet, I'm going to subtract 3 points of health damage. But the sphere might say, hey, when I get hit, I'm just going to subtract 6 points of health damage. But I'm going to send send the global event that's the FSM on this main object. That's essentially like the manager of it, where the health is actually stored, and that's how you do that.
Huh. Okay. Okay.
If you want, I can show you what I mean real quick. It's up to you though.
Sure. Let's do it.
Events, health, and make you global. Add states. Add global transition health, and then get rid of that. This one, FSM. Get send event binary. Event target, game object. Actually, it should be game object FSM. My bad. Game object specify game object. I'm gonna click on this bitch. Put you right in the. Yeah, whatever. No, not get. Did I not do this right? Let's try this. Oh, FSM name. Oh, God, I'm stupid. I'm sorry.
And then some of these FSM things that you're naming, like health, for example, you can really name it whatever you want. That's just for the game designer to keep track of.
Yeah, this is just some number. And then what it's called is what's else. So this would be like send event by name, FSM name, send event. Okay, I'm probably not doing this right, but essentially there's a send event, and so it bumps in and says, hey, hey, I'm talking to this FSM right now, and I want you to go to go away. I want you to start here, and then I want you to subtract health from your. Then I want you to subtract it this variable from your health, and so essentially like the cube and the sphere would constantly tell the enemy manager essentially, hey, since you're keeping track of the health, we're going to go and subtract this from our health, and then the manager says, okay, I'm going to keep keeping an eye on our health, and when the moment it hits 0, I'm going to delete myself, or you can have it do this other thing where it's like okay, my health is 0, so I'm going to spawn in a limp body instead. And Unity does it so fast, you don't see it switch from a walking object to like a limp body.
Huh.
You can even tell, hey, I want you to turn off all animations and turn off rigging, and I'm just going to collapse to the ground. There's multiple ways you can do it.
Ragdoll.
So yeah, that's yeah, that's just kind of the. Wow, I cannot believe I've been talking for an hour.
Over an hour. It's been hour 20.
Yeah, so that's all there is to it. So the what drove me insane was that I found out that making a gun is really easy. You know, I listen for left click, and when I do, I spawn an object. Accuracy is a bitch. um, so here's the thing. Let's pretend this sphere is my gun. I have it right here, and I'm this cube. As I look left and right, the rotation of that sphere will change as well. So, to have the accuracy, I pretty much tell it, I want you to pick a random direction from left to right within these parameters of like, plus and five, negative degrees, and spawn an object. And I want you to, and then I got to reset it back to 0. Otherwise, it could do, plus 5 and then plus 5 again. Now we're 10 degrees outside. So I have to, say, okay, once you've picked a random angle between these two numbers, you're going to spawn a bullet there, they reset back to 0. But the problem is, as far as the game is concerned, you kind of get it'd be easier to show you, but as I said, I don't have my project on me, which is pissing me off. I can't even tell you because I have all this shit figured out and ready to be shown immediately. So basically, I have to have a second object that constantly says, okay, pick a random object, spawn it, and then I'm going to readjust my angle to the invisible object that doesn't actually move and always stays where I'm looking at. And so that's essentially how I handled accuracy. It was really complicated. It involved two different FSMs constantly exchanging information, and about damn near drove me insane, but I was really happy when I figured it out. But then to increase one's accuracy, that gets complicated because you have to, I'm not even going to get into it, but just making your accuracy was like 10,000 times more complicated than making a shooting gun, and you'd think it'd be the opposite.
Yeah. So having like a point and click like center of screen laser pointer is hard.
It's super easy. Having it that has like an accuracy rating of like it randomly picks a point between plus and 5, minus 5 degrees and plus 5 degrees, picks a random angle between those and shoots it to kind of show your bullets spewing everywhere, like how you might see someone shooting a light machine gun and your bullets are kind of generally going around roughly where you're shooting.
Yeah.
That setting that up was actually really complicated, but I mean, I've shown you what it looks like when it waits for a left click, spawns a bullet, and then goes back to waiting for a left click again.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it gives me ideas on some things that I should probably start off with when I start making games, because I'm definitely going to start small. Make a very basic, thing where it's, like you said, maybe dodge cubes, or, have like a game where the objective is like to pick up an object and then move it to a certain area. Like super basic stuff, so I can get used to like, kind of break in the shoes, so to speak.
Yeah, I would highly recommend starting off with like a maze game because you can do so much to it. You can just start off just trying to navigate a maze, and you can sit there and screw with like the lighting effects. And you press a button and then it deletes a wall. You can literally just say like, hey, when I press this button, send an event to this cube, and the event on that cube tells it to destroy itself. To make like a wall disappear. You can even tell it to like, okay, hey, I'm going to delete your collider and I want you to drop through the floor to make it kind of look like a really lame ass animation where it just falls through the floor. But the player doesn't know that. They just see an object move. So you have it play like a grumbling sound to make it look like it disappeared in the floor. In reality, it's just falling through the floor and deleting itself. Like, the player's not going to fucking know.
Right.
So, I mean, you can do that. You can have all these different particle effects. You can, it's also a great way to have enemies in your game that use like the pathing system. So yeah, you can things to jump on. There's just you can have like a basic laser gun where you shoot monsters. Like, I mean, it's a really easy way to start things off. The only downside is because games are so easy, you have to put a lot of love and work into a game in order to make it even sell for a single dollar. Because there's so many free games online. But if you go and look at free games on Steam, for instance, you can kind of see what you're up against when it comes to making like a game that you have to pay money for.
True. True.
Um,
I would also, if I ended up working on a project that was, actually picking up Steam, I'd probably try to release it as like a full thing instead of doing early access, because I'd hate to be one of those developers that, sells a lot of copies or sells even just some copies in early development and then gives up partway through, and then I have everyone's money and they're just out a game.
yeah, in my personal experience, um, people will pay for a longer experience as opposed to a really good quick experience. A lot of the free games are really quick. Um, if you're able to make it to where each new level is automatically harder, because like, okay, I go through this checkpoint, it reloads the scene again, but then it increased the difficulty by 1, and you tell the game like, okay, when difficulty is like 2, the lighting is lower, like it's darker, spawn in some extra items, and you can keep doing that. People will pay for a longer experience as opposed to a really good short experience.
Okay.
So, I made the mistake of taking one game and trying to turn it into like 4 or 5 different things. So my file is a fucking mess. Um,
Oh,
boy,
that is another question I have. How big do these typically get? Like, I guess, I mean, if you have like a single room that's like just jam-packed with stuff, it's going to be big, but like, what are some of the file sizes that you have for like your creations?
if you're just looking at a scene where you mess with stuff, maybe like half a gigabyte.
Okay, okay.
Fire test. Fuck it. Let's sit here and chat while it takes a billion years to load my fucking game in. Hopefully this is the right one.
Hopefully. So, but does it also help? Does it matter if you load or save your games on SSD compared to hard drive?
No.
Okay. So just put it where you have the most space then, because it's not going to load any faster?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Shit. I don't know where my game is. Whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much just kind of like the basics of everything. You don't really need to go past this point. Download some cool. There's an ass load of textures and materials in the Unity Asset Store. Holy balls, ass. Actually, yeah, let's go look at some of those. You can spend hours just like, oh, skyboxes. Oh my god. Why did I not? Skybox, I'm going to show you. This is the sky you're looking at.
Oh, wow.
These are $10 for 200 of them. You just drag and drop it into your scene, and that's the background. They do take a little bit to import, but that's unfortunately one of the downsides to using Unity a lot rather than the asset store is when you play games, you'll start to recognize some of the assets.
Yeah.
I see this one a lot, and it's slowly starting to drive me crazy.
Kind of like, okay, yeah, no. So I used to work with a guy who made some websites, and we used the site to get like, stock images from. And part of my work was to research other sites to, kind of like learn how we should build our own and stuff like that. And I would start to recognize stock images. Even when I look at YouTube videos to this day from like years ago, I still recognize some of the stock images that they've been using.
Oh wow, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it does kind of sometimes break your immersion, unfortunately.
Yeah. But, I mean, for most players aren't game makers, so it's probably going to work out.
So here's a bunch of free melee animations. There's idle, there's a slash is the claymore, a stab. These are all free, and you can make you can adjust the speed of the animation as well. like in the game. So walking is its own animation, slashing is its own animation. The animation is when an animation is set up, it's all depending on what's actually in the what you're told to do in the animation. So if you're able to find one that's only upper body, they have a separate animation for the legs for when you move around. Like that's there's just so much free shit. Just these are all free animations. Yeah, there's 45 animations here that are free.
And then you could just put on your own character over the animation.
Yep.
Huh.
Oh yeah, let's look at characters. Actually, this is not Google, so I should probably. Yeah, 642 free characters. These people are free.
Huh.
Like, it's just. Oh my god. But so, what a lot of people will do is they'll have one free thing, and then they'll have. Oh, is this. Oh, okay. I guess that's its only thing. Alright. Yeah, a lot will have one free thing, but then they'll have, things that have 4 times as much, but they cost like, $5 or $10. But the thing is, if you make something cool and you put it online for $1, if 1,000 people download that thing for $1, you've made $1,000, and it just sits there and just makes you money.
Jeez.
So I mean, these people, they make a really good earning. So when it comes to animation, you probably want to look for rigging. Rigging pretty much says like, hey, this animation has so these bones, these white pieces, they don't flex at all, and when you make the animation, it understands that when I move this arm, that I'll move whatever joints I have to get the arm to that position for you. You can also move the joints yourselves and kind of micromanage where the arm is at every given point in time, and then when you play it, the arm moves into all those positions for you, and Unity takes care of how quickly it has to get from point A to point B. So Unity will manage the speed and the rotation for you depending on where you're at during certain key points of time while your animation is playing. So Unity makes it really easy for you.
Okay.
There's also free Blender has an animation thing built into it. Blender is also free. As I said before, the only thing I don't like about Blender is that it's got a billion different buttons and it's really easy to accidentally click on something.
Okay. Do you know what kind of fee cut that the Unity Asset Store has? So like if you sell $10 worth of stuff, how much would Unity take from that? 30%. Is that?
That's not bad. 30%. That's fair. Like.
Okay.
Oh god, yeah. Audio. I gotta be honest. I'm better off. You're better off just YouTube to MP3 converter and then taking the sound file and tossing it into something, trimming it down, and then just tossing it into Unity. Unity is a very like drag and drop shit from your desktop kind of game. I can literally just take stuff from my desktop and just drag it into here.
Okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much everything there is to know about it. I'll just kind of give you a preview of if you don't want to do anything crazy advanced, like a simple walk around game, you could make something decent in a couple hours if you really wanted to. There's 24-hour game jams for up and coming game developers who want to get famous, where it's what's the word? You have to make everything from scratch. You're not allowed to use any pre-made stuff. Other than that, it's kind of on the honor system. But I mean, putting 24 hours of work into a project, like you don't have like from midnight to midnight. It's really just you're only allowed to put 24 hours worth of work into a project.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of tutorials about stuff like that online. Brackeys? There we go. Yeah, Brackeys is the absolute king of So here's the thing. Bracky's been making fucking videos on Unity for 8 fucking years. He recently retired. When he retired, he took all of his paid stuff and decided to leave it all online, but made it all free and left up all the forums where people can come and ask questions and everything. Just made everything free and left everything up accessible. Even though he's done making, even though he said he announced he was done making Unity videos about 8 months ago. This guy has like everything you possibly want. He's really nice, easy to understand, goes at a nice pace.
Nice.
Yeah, just he has I think like how many videos? Like 800, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a lot of my notes are from him. Making a game in 2D, he's got plenty of stuff on that. Creating your own animation. The problem is because it's spread out over 8 years, some stuff may no longer be available, or it's called something else.
That makes sense.
Or it's been moved around, so keep that in mind. But yeah, he just goes over everything, and a lot of his videos are like no more than like 10 to 15 minutes long. However, he does not use Playmaker. He uses good old C#. However, he usually does provide the actual completed script for you in the video's description, so you don't have to write it by hand if you don't want to. But so go ahead.
How long does it make to actually, or how long does it take to make something with C#?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to make.
Well, so like in Playmaker, you were able to set up like if you click left mouse button, a bullet's gonna spawn and fire out, this, that, and it's gonna, when you run out, you gotta reload, and that repeating loop thing. Would that take so much longer in C# because you're actually having to like code everything like that?
So here's the thing. In my opinion, doing it fresh from scratch, it depends on how good you are with both. I can do in 5 minutes in Playmaker what would take me about a couple hours to do with coding. It's a lot harder to make mistakes in Playmaker than it is in coding. You don't make typos in Playmaker.
True. Okay.
But there's no compiling. Well, I guess yeah, you don't deal with compiling. You don't have to deal with compiling errors either. Knowing how to do something in C# will probably make it just a little bit easier. Well, it depends on how good you are, honestly. So unfortunately, it is pretty heavily reliant on your skill set. Oh yeah, he has also got some actually maybe he's using. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. He makes his animations in Unity as well. So yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, this is really helpful. I appreciate you kind of, breaking me into Unity and showing me around and showing me these tips.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, and unfortunately, Unity is one of those things you also have to stay up on. Like once you stopping and starting again can make you want to tear out your hair.
Okay, because it seems like they're coming out with tons of updates, like, pretty frequently.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, nice. Yeah, very cool. Thanks for the resources, and hey, that's totally fine. I knew way less than you did, so this still gets me far.
I feel like it's a good, it makes it seem a lot less intimidating. If we wanted to work on a project together, they were coming out with Unity together that allows multiple. It's like a Google document for Unity. Then they fucking canceled it because I guess it didn't get enough support. But it's like, why would you never? How could you not have enough support for this? Like, I guess not enough people said something, but like, how could you not think this is a good thing? So, you and we can exchange files for the project and assets and everything. But when it actually comes to making the game, it's kind of I have to transfer you all the files for you to have it and vice versa. So Unity, that's one of Unity's limitations is it's not really set up to be nice when it comes to multiple people working on the same project.
Mhm.
It'd be easier if like one of us makes 3D objects and the other person's job is to hold on to the project folder itself.
Makes sense. Have people be, set for what things that they work on. Like one guy does the sound, one guy does the animations, one guy does the modeling.
Yeah, and like if you and I wanted to like kind of co-op onto a maze thing, what I could easily do is make the prefab in Unity, and then just send it to you, and you just plop it into your game. Where I would make the 3D thingy, set up the FSM, set up the animation, save that all together as a prefab, and send it to you. Then you literally just plop it into your game, and the object takes care of itself.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun because then that could also, yeah, another way of, getting used to, collaborating, sharing things, and being able to, plop it into the game too. But
Oh,
I know I'm going to be spending a lot of time, focusing on the story. I'm probably going to do that before I
yeah.
spend large amounts of time on developing. But who knows? Maybe as I'm like cruising along, I'll find just like several nights in a row where I'll just want to actually, get my hands dirty with something, and I'll just be able to start working on something.
No, if I
But yeah.
if I hang up, it means I don't want to fucking talk. God. Anyways, um,
Yeah, but I mean, all that to say, I'm not sure when I'll start actually tinkering with Unity. Um, I don't know if it's going to be, if it's going to be only after I finish, working on this story right here, or if it's going to be partway through or next week. But I would like to collaborate and see what that's like.
yeah, I mean, honestly, if you want to get your feet wet without being committed, make a landscape. Put down a floor, put down some fucking rocks, screw on with the sky blocks, screw on with the lighting, make some fog, maybe some sound effects. Like, just screw around with scenery. That's a great way to get started before you even do anything. You just plop items in the game and move them around. Like, that's it.
Huh, okay.
So,
Landscape.
yeah, just painting a landscape. There's landscaping tools. You literally just raise ground. You can screw with the size of the paintbrush. Um, make it a little bit more like random and static when you raise stuff. It just yeah.
Okay, nice. Just making a note of that too.
Oh man. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. Yeah, I feel like a lot of this stuff can like getting started with C sharp. I mean, I guess like the proper tutorials I needed did not exist when I first started. There are better tutorials now, and Brackeys has a full-on course on intro to coding. Um, he does a really good job of it. But he didn't make that until about 3 years after I was already watching his videos.
Oh.
So I was like, son of a bitch, I needed this earlier. But oh,
Darn, that sucks.
but yeah, I would say the hardest part about making a game is the user. If you have a lot of user interfaces, those are very, very tedious.
User interfaces, like in-game menus?
Yeah. Um,
Interesting.
I guess for me it's a little bit more because I have an upgrade screen that you press U, it displays the upgrade screen. There's one for your weapon and one for your armor. Then there's also when you go up to like where you can spawn a turret. There's this little pad that you press, and then you select the turret that you want from a menu. So maybe I was kind of running when I was learning how to crawl. I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, user interfaces. However, they're also really cool because you can literally just drag and drop any 2D graphic you can make on fucking Paint, for instance, and just throw it in there as an image, and then just have buttons over the top of it, and you can, so if you make it in Paint, you can toss it into Unity.
Nice. Are you familiar with the game Risk of Rain?
I've never heard of it.
It's it's one of those frustrating games, so you might actually not enjoy it, but there's two games. There's 1 and 2. The first game was a 2D pixel platformer, and they apparently made all the assets or all the visual assets in Microsoft Paint, and then brought it all over into their game when they were kind of putting everything together, which is just kind of insane to think about that they were able to get away with that.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. But yeah, no, again, thanks for showing me this stuff. I'm probably gonna hop off for now. Wrap up a few things on my end for the night.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, was more than happy. Let me know if you have any questions. You can do it in Unity, whether I know how to or not, I don't know. But yeah. Alright, cool. Well, thanks for chatting. I had a lot of fun with this. I meant to have my project up, so I could do a better job of showing you. So I kind of had to just wing everything, and I didn't get a whole lot of sleep. So I'm sorry if it wasn't more organized and I kind of rambled.
Oh no, I wouldn't worry about that. I was still able to find out, kind of where to find some certain functions and kind of like what even those do. So I was still able to learn a lot. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, there's a Playmaker and a Unity manual online that are some pretty easy reads. Unity has an entire database of searching for functions and where stuff is and how to do crap.
Nice, nice.
Alright, we'll talk to you later, good sir.
Sounds good. Enjoy the night.
You too.
Alright, see
Bye.
you.